Hello and welcome to Becky's Bible Thoughts on this Monday. I'm still releasing these videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday for the duration of this lockdown period. So please do tune in on any of those days to watch, or you can always hit the little subscribe button below and that will show you and tell you anytime there are new videos released. If you've been following along recently, you'll know that we've spent a fair bit of time looking at the life of a man in the Bible called David. My daily Bible reading plan has taken me all the way through his life, from the young shepherd boy to the giant slayer to the king of a nation. He wasn't always the perfect man, David. We know that he made his mistakes. But at every difficult turn, he repented and he came back to God in worship, writing just so many beautiful psalms that expressed his utter devotion to God. And as his life was drawing toward a close, David gathered the people of Israel together and commissioned his son, a man named Solomon, the newly crowned king of Israel. He commissioned him with the task of building a wondrous temple for the glory of God. Alongside some specific instructions and requests for donations from the people of Israel for this work, David offers some pretty good advice to his son. And it's just wonderful advice for life in general, as relevant to us today as it was to Solomon all of those many, many years ago. It can be found in 1 Chronicles chapter 28 and verse 9. This is what it says. "And Solomon, my son, learn to know the God of your ancestors intimately. Worship and serve him with your whole heart and a willing mind. For the Lord sees every heart and knows every plan and thought. If you seek him, you will find him. But if you forsake him, he will reject you forever." There are some amazing words of wisdom in these few sentences. Learn to know the God of your ancestors intimately. See, this is something that we have to do for ourselves. We won't know God at an intimate level, at this real depth of relationship, just because somebody else in our family does, just because our parents or our grandparents had that kind of a relationship with God. At some point, it has to become a personal decision. And it's also a learning process. See, God is just so far beyond our understanding and our comprehension that getting to know bits and pieces of his character can take time. It takes effort and devotion, but it is so worth it, because we can know God in a closer and a more intimate way than any other person in our lives. The Bible itself is a wonderful resource that we have to give us some more insights into who God is. And the more that we know him, the more our relationship with him will develop, the deeper that relationship will go. Worship and serve him with your whole heart and a willing mind. Another translation describes it as worshipping and serving with wholehearted devotion. It implies that we shouldn't hold anything back from God. Both our intelligence and our emotions should be engaged when we come to him with worship and with the service that we can offer with our lives. Just think about what that means for you. I think all of us have a tendency to slide one way or the other on that scale. We tend to prioritize either our hearts or our heads. We're not necessarily all that good at using both of them when it comes to the things of God. But both are created by him, and we are instructed to use both with our worship and our service, both our hearts and our minds. For the Lord sees every heart and knows every plan and thought. He sees our hearts. He searches our hearts and our minds too. He knows our plans and our every desire. There is nothing that we can ever hide from God. He is in complete control. What a reassuring thought that is. Even if we're not very good at vocalizing what it is that we're thinking and feeling, he still knows it. He is still involved in it and invested in it. He sees our hearts. If you seek him, you will find him. This is a beautiful, beautiful guarantee. There's no might or maybe in there. This is absolute reassurance that God will be found by us when we seek him out. Remember, this is advice for life. This was, guidance for every day, not just one day that David was giving to Solomon. If there ever comes a time where you feel distant and removed from God, then I encourage you to seek him out, remembering the truth of this promise. If you seek him, you will find him. And finally, it says, if you forsake him, he will reject you forever. Thankfully, we don't have to fear rejection from God with the assurance of our salvation in Christ Jesus. But if we completely turn our backs on him, if we absolutely forsake him, then he's not going to try and force our hand. He may well leave us to our own devices in those moments, showing us what a life without him looks like. But even in those times, with the gift of hindsight, it's always possible to see him moving, working to bring us back into heart and mind connection with him. By this point in his life, David was a pretty old man. He'd had a good long life. And he had lived out these principles that he was passing on to his son. He had lived them out and he had found them to be good. And he had found them to be true. That's why he was passing this advice on. And it is such great advice for us as well. And I really encourage you just to think through what that means within your own life. Do you know God intimately? Do you worship and serve him with your heart and with your mind? Do you seek him out in your life? All of those things are things that we can do to bring ourselves closer to him. And they are amazing things to put into practice in your life. Because you know what? A life with God is many, many things, but it is never dull. It is the most exciting and wonderful life that you can imagine. Seek after him and you will find him. Guaranteed. Thank you so much for joining me today to watch this thought from the Bible. I'll see you next time. Be here on Wednesday and Friday with new videos. See you then.